So, hello everyone. My name is Marina Pitsiano and I am the career coach from Melbourne, Australia. Thank you for joining me today. I am so excited to talk to you about my favorite topic. Job searching is more than a resume. And what I mean by that is many clients that come to visit me, what happens is they specifically ask about their resume. They want to know they want to get their resume prepared, or a professional resume. And I often sit back and ask them, well, it's great that you might have your resume. However, do you know how to complete a cover letter? Do you actually know how to prepare for that interview if you get that yes? What do you think you should consider for your LinkedIn profile? Do you have a LinkedIn profile? Do you use it? And of course, in job search, it's not about what we know, it's about who we know. So it's really important that we're out there networking. So do you have a pitch? Are you selling yourself correctly? So these are all the areas that we will be looking at today in this webinar. And what's really important as you listen to what I discuss with you, or that I go over with you, is that it's the little details that are vital, and that the little things is what's going to make big things happen. Written by Coach John Wooden, a famous American baseball player. What it is, it's about always looking at refining your details, always looking at how can we promote ourselves that little bit better? Do I need to just adjust that resume that little bit more for the next job opportunity you're going for? Or do you need to just prepare that example that you need to really sell yourself? Or do you need to make subtle changes to your LinkedIn profile that is going to attract the almighty hiring manager or recruiter? Or is it that when you're networking, do you actually need to think more carefully about the questions you need to ask? Or is it that you need to provide more information when you're networking? So these are all the little tips and things that we're going to do today in this webinar. The first thing is the resume. What's really important for all of you to understand is that a hiring manager or a recruiter is only going to give you 4 seconds to impress. So you only have a chance. They will simply scan your resume. In today's market, coming out of COVID, and I know for some of you around the world, you are still probably in COVID, there is a lot of competition and the market is in flux. So what's really critical is that resume is selling you the best. And I'm just going to go through some key points on your resume that you need to have. Number one, no personal details. We only have email address, mobile, and a link to your LinkedIn profile. No need to create any further bias. We don't need to know your date of birth, where you live, or any of those personal details. I will suggest, and this is where there is a lot of different conversations, lots of consideration is that people think about the fact that they need to add a photo. They always talk about, do I or don't I add a photo? I will recommend that you don't. We need to avoid the biases. So where possible, don't add a photo, because remember, if they need to find you, they will find you on LinkedIn. The other thing that's really important is to have a really crisp summary. Make sure that your summary is really highlighting at a really top-notch level your capabilities, your skills, and a little bit about your experience. So how many years of experience have you had? What were some key responsibilities? And what is it that you are proud of? And what are the key words you want to use to describe yourself? So therefore, as someone scans through your resume, voila, there is a whole summary for you. Now, a laundry of skills. A lot of people put a skills summary. Some people do, some people don't. Around the world, this is extremely different. Now, a laundry of skills are sometimes really important depending on the type of roles you want to go for. So if you're looking at project types of roles, it's good to have that you're a stakeholder management, that you've been influencing, that you're negotiating sales roles. So you really need to think about, do I put those skill sets in or do I take them out? What's really important in the work history is that you make sure that the eye focuses on your title and that we know we have a list, we have the dates. The dates are critical, and what I tend to do is put them on the right-hand side of the resume so a a recruiter or a hiring manager can scan your resume very easily. Now, what's really important about is title. Title is the only thing that you can absolutely change. There is no need to keep to the title that you had. Example, you were a manager in an organization. Sometimes you're applying for a job that is a supervisor. Sometimes you're applying for a job that's a lead. Sometimes you're applying for a job that is a coordinator. Sometimes you're applying for a job that's a controller, but they're all management roles. Adjust your resume to meet the key criteria of that role and make sure that you have achievements. Many resumes do not highlight achievements. Now, what is an achievement? An achievement is something that you might have improved efficiency, increased productivity, decreased costs. It has to have a numeric value to that achievement. Make sure that in all your roles, you at least state 1 or 2 achievements. So really important. The other thing that's really important is we don't offer. At the moment, we're taking interests off the resume. I know it was a good connection statement, but now we're removing the interest, and what we're doing is referees on request only. So really important that that resume is really strong. Now, another tip for you is maybe what you can do is you can have a template where you have your resume with all the different responsibilities, achievements, and what you do is you have a major template that it's got all your information, and then you slowly tailor that resume to every role that you're applying for. Really important to have that information. So you're always tailoring for every job that you go for. Now, the over important cover letter. What you find with the cover letter is that the resume will give the employer a sense of whether you fit for the job, for the type of roles and positions that you are targeting. So it's really important that the resume is highlighting that you match skills, capabilities, and responsibilities to the role. But a cover letter is really important in making sure that you actually hit the target and you meet the key selection criteria. Now, it's really important to actually read the ad carefully. Look at what the responsibilities are and look at what's essential, key selection criteria, what is desirable. And when you are pitching to the key selection criteria, really think of your stories. Think of what would be key achievements across all the selection criteria. More importantly, when you look at the responsibilities, how can you match the responsibilities to your experience, to the key selection criteria, so that you can actually give the hiring manager an example of the fact that you actually understand that role extremely well. Now, what's also important is make sure you address all the key selection criteria. I had a client who completed her cover letter and she sent it off to me, but what I discovered was that there was 10 selection criteria requirements. She only completed 4. Now, when you only complete part of the key selection criteria, you immediately will go into the no bucket. So really critical to make sure that all that criteria is addressed and is addressed with really strong examples. And of course, the way we finish off our cover letter is, why do you actually want to work for the company? This is a good time to research them a little bit, maybe look at the opportunities to grow and develop for yourself, the opportunities that will give you leadership responsibilities, and maybe you align to the values of that organization. In a very quick sentence, 1 or 2, explain why you feel you'll be a great fit for the company, why you want to work for them. Really important. The next thing that's really important is preparing for that interview. Now, what's really interesting about preparing for an interview is many people, what they do when they start for an interview is they go on the website and they search all the possible questions they could be asked. There are endless questions that you will be asked. Now, first tip is the key selection criteria will let you know what could be the areas they're going to ask you. So that will give you a tip of, if it's a leadership role, they might want to ask you about how do you manage and monitor staff. They might want to know about how you improve a culture. If it's a project management role, they might want to know about a successful project or a project that has not gone well. If it's a sales role, they might want to know an example of how you created your sales pipeline. How did you actually convert your clients? How did you build a portfolio? So these are standard examples. However, we will not know what you're going to be asked. So what I suggest and really encourage all of you to do is create 10 extremely solid scenarios that you can then manipulate and tailor for any question. And the way you then create that interview is the way that you create that example is what we call the STAR approach. The STAR approach is about situation, task, action, and result. So I do know that there's also what you might know or you might have seen is called CAR, context, action, result. Now, how we prepare this example is that we think about the context. So what was the situation? Where were you? What company were you at? What role were you doing? What actually was the task? What was the task that you were doing at that moment? And what are all the actions that you did to complete that task? And of course, the most important thing is, what did you achieve? What was the result of doing that? So an example of that is, when I was working at Telstra as a customer service representative, I had a very irate client walk in. What I did when I saw that client was that I firstly calmed the client down. I elicited all the information that was of their concern. I then looked and investigated the situation for them and understood what the problem was, and then went back and explained that the problem, that acknowledged the problem, understood that, yes, we do have a problem in this situation. I have now fixed it for you. And in order for all the disappointment or for us putting you out, I've actually given you a refund. And the result was the fact that the customer walked away extremely happy. So as you can see, where was I? I was at Telstra. What was the task? Trying to deal with an irate client. What was the action? Basically broke down that I calmed the client down, gave them all the information, investigated the situation, provided a refund. The result was that the client walked away extremely happy. Now, if you are able to create all these scenarios, I'm talking about 10 scenarios across the key selection criteria, I can guarantee that at the interview, all those scenarios will come in handy. And you've probably covered 90% of the interview questions. So really, really think about switching your head around, not trying to answer all the possible questions, but thinking of creating scenarios that will detail information that will demonstrate to the hiring manager or the recruiter that you are the best person for the job. Because by you creating these scenarios, providing that level of detail, they will see your expertise, they will see your approach, they will see your capabilities, and they will see if you're suitable for the role. Now, of course, the other thing that you must prepare is the questions. You should always walk into the interview with questions. The one tip here, which is really important when you do have questions, is that this is the only time that if you're in a face-to-face situation, you can bring your questions out. You can have your questions written down. They don't need to be memorized. You can just, when they say, do you have any questions for us? You can simply say, yes, I have a list of questions. Here they are. Now, what's important about questions is the first thing that you should always do when thinking about questions is, again, research the company, and where possible, research their annual reports. Go into the annual report and think about, is this company growing? What is the strategic vision of this company? Are they doing well? What are their projects? What is it that they're going to be doing moving forward? So therefore, you can ask a specific question about what you've learned from their website, from their annual report, or even from people that you know that work in that company. So the more detailed you are in your questions, the more impressed they'll be that you've done your homework, you've done your research, and it also shows a level of commitment that by doing that level of research, you are actually very committed to wanting to work with a company like theirs. Really demonstrates, and it really demonstrates you stepping out of the box, and also demonstrating your commitment. The other thing that's really important about questions is ask something that is really, left of field. So, one question that I love asking is, if I was the successful candidate for this role, what would be the key attribute that would make me successful? That gives you a really good insight to A, have you done well in the interview? And B, if you are going for the second interview, or you get shortlisted to go into the next stage, you now have some key information that you can dwell on and deliver at that next interview. So really, really important to think about what are the questions you're going to provide in an interview. LinkedIn. LinkedIn is now one of the world's largest professional network, with nearly 740 million members in more than 200 countries and territories worldwide. It is one of the biggest platforms and what I call the playground for professionals. Very, very important that another strategy for your job search is to be on LinkedIn. Now, another phrase that I often use when talking to clients is that you can't have just one job strategy when you are applying for work. It is critical that you can't just be applying through websites, through Seek.com. You really need to be looking at the variety of different ways that you can reach out and talk to people. And LinkedIn really gives you that opportunity. So what I want you to do when you're thinking of LinkedIn is step back and think of these two questions. Who do you want to attract, and what do you want to be known for? Because if you get your LinkedIn profile right, the recruiters will come to you. The hiring managers will come to you. So I just want you to imagine that you update your LinkedIn profile with exactly what I'm about to tell you. And voila, in the next 10 minutes or the next half an hour or within 24 hours, you get a request by a recruiter that wants to meet you. That is the power of LinkedIn. Now, what's the reason for that is that at the moment, what you'll see on LinkedIn is most jobs are also being advertised on LinkedIn, but more importantly, recruiters use LinkedIn Recruiter. What that means is before they go to the market to find their candidate, they search on LinkedIn. It is much easier for them to match the role to someone on LinkedIn and reach out to than to sift through hundreds and hundreds of applications. So what you need to think about is what are the words that recruiter, that hiring manager is going to key in to find you. So what's really important is to think about, so when you're applying for work, so this is really good. You've done your LinkedIn, you've done your resume, you've done your cover letter. You're now starting to feel what the market is looking for. You're starting to see those keywords across all the job ads. You're starting to provide key information about your experience, your capabilities, and also those key strengths. So now all of a sudden what you need to do is to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is updated with all those words. Now, the two areas on LinkedIn which is not negotiable and it is critical that you maximize it is your headline and your about section. So I do not want to see looking for opportunities in your headline, because you have just lost the opportunity to get connected or to be found. So what's really critical is put the type of industry you want to work in, put in the types of roles you want to put in there, and maybe, so for example, head of marketing, strategy, relationships, maybe sales, account management, retail. So really specific about what is it that you're looking for in the market. Make sure your headline is detailing the same. And when it comes to your about section, you have 2,200 words to really pop. What you need to put in there is, again, your experience. What's the experience you've had? What are the responsibilities? Again, matching it to the roles that you've been applying for. Putting in those key words or those key responsibilities that you know that the recruiter, if they key those words in, they will find you. And then what do you want to be known for? Most of you would be very proud of maybe some of the major projects that you've done. Maybe you've been called an influencer, a negotiator, ability to really close deals, a really strong project lead, a fantastic manager. Think about what are the keywords you want to use to really demonstrate that you not only do you have the skill, not only do you have the capability, not only do you have the experience, but you're the right person for the job. So really important to do that. And as you step down in your LinkedIn profile and you highlight your experience under the experience tab, make sure you highlight 2, 3, 4 achievements in that section, because if all of a sudden we are about to land on your page, I will scan your headline, I will scan your about, and then I will go down to look at your experience. You need to remember at this point, they do not know who you are. You have only popped up because of a search. Now you need to make sure that you're going to get that. Yes, you want to make sure that LinkedIn profile is as strong as possible. So really important. And therefore, the main thing here on LinkedIn is your picture. This is where your picture needs to be professional. Now, you need to think about, when it comes to your photo on LinkedIn, you need to think about the industry you're going into. So you need to think about, if I'm going into a professional industry, should I or should I not wear a jacket? If I'm going into a creative industry, should I wear a nice shirt? If I'm going into a more junior role, do I want to wear a tie and jacket to be more impressive? So you really need to think about, you need to dress and look for the job you want to go for, not for the job that you're in. So really think about what picture you're going to put up there, what headline you're going to use, what are you going to put in the about page to really make you pop, and what are you going to highlight as achievements to really demonstrate that you are the right person for the role. Moving on to networking. Networking is probably one of the most important things that you need to do when looking for a job. What's interesting about networking, as we all know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I think when it comes to networking, what's really important is being able to starting to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. The one thing about job search, which is really difficult, is that you're going to do things that you normally would never do. It is about reaching out to people and asking for help, reaching out to people and having conversations, reaching out to connections that you probably have never met and you don't know. And it's quite nerve-wracking thinking that I'm going to reach out for help. Will they respond? Will they help me? Will they give me an opportunity to chat about their industry? So what's really important is for you to be able to get comfortable, to say, I'm okay with reaching out, having a conversation. And if they don't come back, it's okay. I'm just moving on to the next one. So the tip that I have for you for networking is, the first thing is, when you are reaching out to people, be as professional as possible. Always make sure when you are connecting with them, either on LinkedIn, when you are networking online, make sure that your email or your connection statement, you're reaching out to them and introducing yourself professionally, letting them know a little bit about you and what is it about them or their company that you would like to know more about. So be very, very specific in the way you reach out to them so they know a little bit about you, making sure your profile is top notch, a little bit about you, and asking specifically what is it that you really want to know. The other thing that's really important with networking is have your pitch ready. Really, really important to make sure that you have a pitch. I call it a connection statement. What it is what is it about you? So what is it about your experience? Is it about what's impressive about your experience? Is it that you've been in a business for X amount of years? Is it that you've had great success with projects? Is it that you've been able to manage a great environment? Is it that you've been able to create a huge portfolio? So, get to in your pitch, talk about what you've done. I've been in retail for 20 years. I love working with people, and I've been able to really build a huge pipeline of clients. And so therefore I'm looking for. So really need to think about your connection statement and think about what is it about you that is critical for them to know so that they will be curious to learn more about you. Really important to be able to get that pitch really right. And also be able to promote yourself. When you are networking, it's really, really critical to think about, what do I want them to know? What is it about me that I'm really proud of? What is it about me that will match the types of industry or roles that I'm looking for that will sound quite impressive? And what is it that I need to actually promote about myself that's going to get someone that's going to be curious to want to talk to me? Make sure. The other thing about networking is really go where your clients play. Go where your hiring managers, your recruiters. Think about associations that you can attend. Think about meetup groups. Think about, where people are learning about their industry, because if you go and attend those learning environments or those webinars or the learning information, you'll get to meet the people that are in your industry or the industry you want to get into, and you can get to talk to them and understand more and find out if there are opportunities. So really think about where you can play. Where are the hiring managers, the recruiters, where do they play? Where do they go? And so therefore you can attend those as well. Really critical to be able to attend as many opportunities that you can. So the other thing that's really important, that when you are networking, make sure that you plan. You plan where you're going to go and why you're there. Think about why you want to be there. What is it about this particular area? Who do you want to meet, and what do you want to discuss? Make sure you're courageous. Make sure that, when you are standing in a room of plenty of people, have the courage to go and reach out to someone and have that conversation. Often you can sit back and think, no, who would want to speak to me? Have the courage, go out and speak to those individuals. Learn to ask for help. That's really important. Ask for help. What you'll find is most people will always help you and guide you. So it's all up to you to ask for it. But make sure you ask for it, because I know so many of my clients just don't want to do it, don't reach out, and end up getting extremely frustrated. Make sure that when you are working or talking to someone, you listen. Listen very effectively around what they say, what information they give you, what could be a person they can connect with. Take the details down and make sure you follow that up. And make sure that you have a spirit of reciprocity. Make sure that you will respond back. You might be networking and realize that person might want to connect with someone That person might want information or might need some assistance, and you can provide that. Always think about, how can you give back? How could you give back to that person? Because in the long run, they'll always remember you, and they'll also be able to help you back. So think about the area. So be curious, have courage, reach out, plan, and definitely promote yourself as much as you can when you're networking. So where can you find me? Go to my website, www.letscreate.com.au. It's with a Z. I have lots of support for you. There's a lot of blogs, there is podcasts, and I've also launched my new program called Jumpstart Your Career, which is online, and therefore you're able to have a look at that. And if you want to join my program, please this is instructor led. I do not lead you on your own. You work with me very closely over a 4-week period where we get everything ready for you to get that all over, to get that success in your job hunting. So remember, what's really, really important when you are job hunting is that you are prepared, that you have the confidence, gain the confidence. Through preparation and confidence, you will have success. And if you would like to, you can also attend my website, go to my website, and you can download my job application kit using the code CV2020 and have a look at how I would prepare your resume and your cover letter. Thanks for listening. And now we'll just go to questions.
Hello. That was fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was fantastic. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. We didn't get many questions, did we?
No, well, to be fair, we're on like hour 21 of 24, so a lot of people have dropped off by this point. But I, with everyone who's doing them now, all of this is going to be recorded and sent out to everyone. So if anyone doesn't have any questions, then drop them down below. But if for people who are watching this back tomorrow or the day after, what's the best place to come and find you to ask questions?
Probably the best place to go to they can go to my email address. Just go to my email address, marina@letscreate.com.au. Easier for them to email me direct, and I'll be able to help them.
Fantastic. Do you want to just say the email address one more time?
It's Marina@letscreate, LETZ create, CREATE.com.au.
Fantastic, brilliant. But no, really, really good. I really liked that presentation. We've had such a mixture of presentations on today, and everything you were saying about, especially sort of the personal personal branding side, personal development side, really resonated with what a lot of. There's a real theme going through it, and it is about that the networking piece. Making sure that you are reaching out and reciprocating as well. It can't just be a one-way thing, right? It has to be a two-way conversation. It always has to be. Otherwise, go on.
I was just to say, a lot of people don't realize that, because when they're job hunting, they don't think they've got anything to offer. So they don't think, their mind is all about, but they've got they're only in one space at the time, but you've got you might have connections, you might have previous employers, you have a lot of people that you might know that could help the other person. And that's how you can get remembered as well. They'll think, this person in their time of need, they reached out to help me. Why can't I do something for them? Do you know what I mean? So, I'm glad that you found, we're extremely helpful on cover letters. Who's Faraz? Faraz is on every single one.
I know, yeah. He's we're messaging each other on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah. And what's interesting is LinkedIn is really popular in Australia. Not as much as in Europe. Like I belong to BNI, and I attended a lot of the BNI events in London, and we were talking about LinkedIn. They're like, "Oh, do you guys use LinkedIn?" I go, "Yeah, we use LinkedIn all the time." So it's interesting what different countries do. Now, what made you decide to do this? This is a great idea.
Basically, I wanted to help out as many people as possible, and I thought, well, what's the best way of getting an idea out to as many different people as I can? And I thought, well, first of all, I could do a 12-hour thing, but I thought if I make it 24 hours, not realizing how hard it was actually going to be, if I make it 24 hours around the world, then just even the name itself, the 24-hour job hunt, or 24 coaches in 24 hours, is going to be appealing to people, and that's going to propagate more, and we can help out. We can help out as many people as possible. Like we've got 800. So this video is going to go out to 855 people tomorrow that all registered for the event. So hopefully some people will be reaching out to you off the back of that. We do actually have a question.
I've already had people reach out to me.
Oh, fantastic! Brilliant.
I've already had, because I promoted it on my LinkedIn profile, and people reach out to me going, "Oh my God, what is this? I want to know more." Now how to tackle salary negotiations. Wow. Okay, so what's really important, Clive, when you tackle salary negotiations is you firstly need to get the job. So you can't negotiate before the interview, can't negotiate during the interview. You don't ask what the salary is, but once you get the job, you're able to sit down and understand the range and think about what is your not negotiable. So I'm not going to go this low, and this is how much I really want, and be able to negotiate. So big advice, make sure you get the job. Once you've got the job, know exactly how much you will drop, how much you're willing to drop, And the second thing is how much. Always ask for more than less, because then they'll negotiate you down. At least you'll get to a medium. So that's what my advice is. Can't hear you. You're on mute.
I'm getting there. We've had another question come through on the Ask a Question section from Gabrielle. What would you suggest for a cover letter when you provide a separate KSC document?
Right. So that is really critical, because with a separate key selection criteria, usually that's done for government, you're allowed in those to really be specific. So you can spend up to 300 words per key selection criteria. And you need to address that key selection criteria exactly how you would address the interview, which is through the STAR approach. What was the situation? What was the task? What did you do? And what was the result? They actually want a lot of detail. So create a really good example and detail it as much as you can, because that's what they're looking for. So you do have much more room to provide a lot of detail, provided you have up to 300, nearly 400 words in some cases, and you have to address each key selection criteria. If you don't, you'll miss out.
Yeah, fantastic.
I do that all the time.
Fantastic. Any more questions before we move on?
Beautiful.
No, I think that's that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on.
If you ever do it again, let me know. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I don't think my other half's ever going to let me do this again.
Where are you in London?
In Dalston, so just sort of North London, near Shoreditch.
Beautiful. Well, good luck for the rest of the day. We've
got three more people, and then I'm collapsing on the floor just over here, and I'm done.
You are wonderful. Thank you. See ya.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'll be sending all these videos around tomorrow or the day after, depending on when I wake up. So thank you so much for your time, Marina.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.